Year 5. So today we are moving on to our next chapter of our book, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Today we're going to be looking at predictions and eye wonders. So at the beginning of this chapter we will be making a prediction, and then towards the end of this chapter we will be completing some eye wonders as well. Now, just as a quick recap for those people that may have missed last week or maybe a couple of videos behind, it's just to keep you up to date. So in chapter 3, Edmund had followed Lucy into the wardrobe and he accidentally stumbled across a queen, or an ice queen perhaps, and she was demanding for him to address her as a queen and making sure that she came across as regal as well. And hopefully we're going to find out today how Edmund reacts towards her in this chapter. Now, before we start reading this chapter, we are going to write a prediction. Now, if you write it down for me just before we start the chapter, and I will be able to see you've done that when you post it onto Dojo as well. Now, I've put a couple of prompt questions to help you with your predictions. So I put, what do you think is going to happen to Edmund? What will the Queen ask him to do? Will the Queen ask Edmund any more questions? Because she was very quizzical in chapter 3, so hopefully we're going to find out if she asks him any more questions today. So jot down your prediction, and once you're ready we'll move straight on to the reading of chapter 4. Chapter 4. But what are you? Said the Queen again. Are you a great overgrown dwarf that's had his beard cut off? No, your Majesty, said Edmund. I've never had a beard. I'm a boy. A boy? Said she. Do you mean you are a son of Adam? Edmund stood still, saying nothing. He was too confused by this time to understand what the question meant. I see you're an idiot, whatever else you may be, said the Queen. Answer me, once and for all, or I shall lose my patience. Are you human? Yes, your Majesty, said Edmund. And how, pray, do you come to enter my domains? Please, your Majesty, I came in through a wardrobe. A wardrobe? What do you mean? I just opened the door and found myself here, your Majesty, said Edmund. Ha! Said the Queen, speaking more to herself than to him. A door from a world of men. I've heard of such things, this may wreck all, but he is the only one, and he is exactly that easily dealt with. As she spoke these words, she rose from her seat and looked Edmund full in the face, her eyes flaming. At the same moment she raised her wand. Edmund felt sure that she was going to do something dreadful, but he seemed unable to move. Then, just as she gave himself up for lost, she appeared to change her mind. My poor child, she said in quite a different voice, how cold you look. Come and sit with me here on the sledge, and I will put my mantle round you, and we will talk. Edmund did not like this arrangement at all, but he dared not disobey. He stepped onto the sledge and sat at her feet, and she put a fold of her fur mantle around him and tucked it well in. Perhaps something hot to drink, said the Queen. Something, should you like that? Yes, please, your Majesty, said Edmund, whose teeth were chattering. The Queen took from somewhere among her wrappings a very small bottle, which looked as if it was made of copper. Then, holding out her arm, she let one drop fall from the snow beside the sledge. Edmund saw the drop for a second in mid-air, shining like a diamond. But the moment it touched the snow, there was a hissing sound, and there stood a jewelled cup full of something that steamed. The dwarf immediately took this and handed it to Edmund with a bow and a smile. Not a very nice smile. Edmund felt so much better as he began to sip the hot drink. It was something he had never tasted before, very sweet and foamy and creamy, and it warmed him right down to his toes. It is dull, son of Adam, to drink without eating, said the Queen presently. What would you like best to eat? Turkish delight, please, your Majesty, said Edmund. The Queen let another drop fall from her bottle onto the snow, and instantly there appeared a round box tied with a green silk ribbon, which, when opened, turned out to contain several pounds of the best Turkish delight. Each piece was sweet and light to the very centre, and Edmund had never tasted anything more delicious. He was quite warm now and very comfortable. While he was eating, the Queen kept asking him questions. At first, Edmund tried to remember that it is rude to speak with one's mouth full, but soon he forgot about this and thought only of trying to shovel down as much Turkish delight as he could. And the more he ate, the more he wanted to eat, and he never asked himself why the Queen should be so inquisitive. She got him to tell her that he had one brother and two sisters, and that one of his sisters had already been into Narnia and had met a faun there, and that no one except himself and his brother and his sisters knew anything about Narnia. She seemed especially interested in the fact that there were 4 of them, and kept coming on back to it. "You are sure there are just 4 of you?" she asked. "2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve, neither more nor less," said Edmund, with his mouthful of Turkish delight, kept on saying, "Yeah, I told you that before," and forgetting to call her Your Majesty, but she didn't seem to mind now. At last the Turkish delight was all finished, and Edmund was looking very hard at the empty box and wishing that she would ask him whether he would like some more. Probably the Queen quite well knew what he was thinking, for she knew, though Edmund did not, that this was enchanted Turkish delight, and not anyone who had ever tasted it would want any more, and more of it, and would even, if they were allowed, go on eating it if they killed themselves. But she did not offer him any more. Instead, she said to him, "Son of Adam, I should not much like to see your brother and 2 sisters. Will you bring them to see me?" "I'll try," said Edmund, still looking at the empty box. "Because if you did come again, bringing them with you, of course, I'd be able to give you some more Turkish delight. I can't do it now. The magic will only work once. In my own house, it would be another matter." And you carry on reading for your independent read for me. Find out what Edmund decides to do towards the end of this chapter. Okay, to finish today's session, I would like you to produce 2 I wonders after reading this chapter. So I have thought of one for you. I wonder if the older siblings will believe Lucy now that Edmund has also been to Narnia. So that is my I wonder. I'm hoping that the 2 of the older siblings will maybe believe Lucy and not call it a hoax. So when I see your post onto Class Dojo, I should see 2 I wonders for chapter 4.